They want you to focus on the number, $7,000 an ounce. They want you shocked by the price. They want you distracted by the headline. But the real shock isn't 7,000 silver. The real shock is what happens to the people who understood it early and the people who didn't. Let me take you somewhere for a moment. Picture a quiet evening. No breaking news. No panic on the screen. Just someone sitting at a table holding a few heavy silver coins in their hand. No noise, no excitement, just certainty. That person doesn't look rich yet. No luxury car, no applause. But something has already changed. Their mindset has shifted. They stopped chasing money and started positioning for it. Most people think wealth arrives with fireworks. It doesn't. It arrives silently while others are distracted. I remember hearing about a small business owner years ago. Not a Wall Street insider, not a genius, just disciplined. Every month, before paying himself anything extra, he bought silver. Not because it was exciting, because it was real. While others upgraded phones and lifestyles, he upgraded ounces. Years passed. The price moved, then stalled, then moved again. People laughed. They always do before the turn. But when pressure hit the system, when currencies weakened and confidence cracked, he wasn't scrambling. He was calm. Calm is expensive. Calm is rare. Calm is built before the storm. Here's the first truth most people miss. Silver isn't about getting rich fast. It's about not getting poor slowly. That alone changes how you live your life. When your foundation is solid, your decisions become bolder. You negotiate differently. You think longer term. You stop reacting emotionally to every headline. Silver teaches patience, and patience compounds into power. Think of silver like a compressed spring. It looks inactive, boring, unimpressive, until pressure builds to a point where release is inevitable. Industrial demand rising, monetary trust eroding, supply constraints tightening quietly in the background. The world doesn't need everyone to understand silver. It only needs enough pressure. And here's where life and investing meet. The people who win in any era are rarely the loudest. They're the ones willing to prepare while it feels uncomfortable. Entrepreneurs who built during recessions. Investors who accumulated when sentiment was low. Families who chose assets over appearances. Silver attracts that type of person because it rewards discipline, not ego. Ask yourself this quietly. If silver went to 7,000 tomorrow, would your life actually change? Or would you still be chasing the next thing? Because the real goal isn't the price. It's freedom. Freedom from panic, freedom from bad decisions, freedom to say no. I once spoke to a man who worked 2 jobs for years. Not because he loved work, but because he hated debt. Every overtime check, a portion went into physical silver, hidden away, forgotten by the world. When inflation started eating salaries alive, he wasn't rich, but he was protected. While others were stressed, he was strategic. That mental edge alone changed his trajectory. He started a business because he wasn't afraid anymore. Fear is expensive. Silver quietly reduces it. Here's a simple strategy most people overlook. Consistency beats timing. You don't need perfect entries. You need a habit, monthly accumulation. No emotion, no drama. Just like training your body, you train your financial future. Ounces stack the same way confidence does. Slowly, then suddenly. And let's talk mindset for a moment. Silver forces humility. It doesn't reward impatience. It doesn't care about opinions. It sits there, heavy, real, indifferent. That teaches you something powerful about life. You don't need validation to be right. You need conviction and time. Every major wealth shift in history transferred assets from the impatient to the prepared. Silver has always been there during those transfers. Not flashy, not trendy, but reliable. When systems reset, real things remain. Here's another micro-truth. The people who benefit most from silver aren't speculators. They're builders. Builders of families. Builders of businesses. Builders of long-term plans. Silver fits into a bigger picture. It's not the whole strategy. It's the anchor. Action matters. Start small if you must, but start. Decide that every income increase comes with an ounce increase. Decide that silver is not an expense, but stored effort, stored hours of your life that inflation can't steal easily. Treat it with respect, and it will return that respect over time. Risk is unavoidable in life. The real question is which risk you choose, the risk of preparation or the risk of regret. One makes you uncomfortable now. The other makes you uncomfortable later when options are fewer. Imagine waking up years from now, not panicked by markets, not glued to news alerts, just grounded, knowing you positioned when others hesitated, that confidence spills into every area of life, health, relationships, decisions. Wealth is more than money. It's the ability to remain calm while the world rushes. 7,000 silver isn't the shock. The shock is realizing how few people prepared. The shock is watching discipline outperform noise. The shock is understanding that freedom was never about timing the top. It was about owning something real before it mattered. Silver rewards patience, not hype. And that single truth separates those who build lasting wealth from those who spend their lives reacting to noise. In a world trained to chase excitement, silver feels almost invisible, and that is precisely where its power lives. It doesn't move when people expect it to, it doesn't scream for attention, and it doesn't reward emotional decisions. Instead, it asks for time, discipline, and belief when nothing looks impressive. That requirement filters out the impatient and leaves space for those willing to think beyond the next headline. Most people are conditioned to believe wealth arrives with speed. Fast returns, fast wins, fast validation. Silver works in the opposite direction. It grows in the background while life continues, while distractions multiply, while opinions shift daily. Those who stay consistent through that silence begin to develop a different relationship with money. They stop needing constant confirmation. They understand that real value doesn't need applause. This mindset alone becomes a form of leverage because it allows calm decision-making when others are stressed, rushed, or fearful. Patience is not passive in silver investing. It is active restraint. It is choosing not to sell when boredom sets in, choosing not to chase something shinier, choosing to trust a long-term thesis when short-term action feels tempting. That restraint strengthens character. Over time, it spills into other areas of life. Career choices become more strategic. Business decisions become less emotional. Even personal relationships gain stability because the investor is no longer anchored to financial anxiety. Hype creates volatility in the mind before it ever touches markets. When people buy silver because of excitement alone, they bring unrealistic expectations with them. They expect immediate validation. When it doesn't arrive, disappointment sets in and discipline collapses. Those who understand silver differently don't need constant movement. They understand that consolidation is not failure. It is pressure building quietly. This understanding gives them a psychological edge that compounds over years, not weeks. There are countless stories of individuals who accumulated silver during periods of disinterest. While markets were chasing tech booms, crypto narratives, or speculative trends, these individuals kept stacking ounces, not because it was popular, but because it was logical. When financial stress later appeared, when currencies weakened and trust eroded, these same individuals were not forced into reactive decisions. They had options. Options are the real currency of freedom. Silver patience creates leverage in moments when leverage matters most. During economic strain, those with tangible assets don't negotiate from fear. They negotiate from stability. They can wait. They can observe. They can act selectively. That ability often leads to opportunities that impatient individuals never see because they are too busy trying to recover losses or chase momentum. The longer someone holds silver with conviction, the more it reshapes their perception of time. Short-term fluctuations lose emotional power. Daily price movements become background noise. This detachment is not indifference, it is clarity. Clarity allows a person to stay aligned with their plan, even when others are abandoning theirs. Over time, that clarity builds confidence that cannot be borrowed or faked. Hype burns fast and leaves little behind. Patience accumulates quietly and leaves strength. Silver embodies that lesson perfectly. It teaches that wealth is not something you catch by running faster than everyone else. It is something you attract by standing firm while others move impulsively. Those who remain patient long enough often look lucky to outsiders, but the truth is that their advantage was built ounce by ounce, decision by decision, long before the outcome was visible. As pressure increases across financial systems, patience becomes increasingly rare. The rarest trait becomes the most valuable one. Silver holders who understand this are not waiting for permission from the market. They are waiting for inevitability. And in that waiting, they are not idle. They are positioning, strengthening, and removing urgency from their lives in a way that hype-driven strategies never can. Wealth is rarely built through loud moves or dramatic moments, even though that is what stories usually highlight. The reality is far quieter. It is shaped by repeated actions that seem almost insignificant at the time. Consistent accumulation, especially in something as tangible and underestimated as silver, works because it removes emotion from the process. Instead of trying to predict perfect moments, it focuses on building position. Position is what determines outcomes when conditions change. Most people wait for certainty before acting. They want confirmation, social proof, and reassurance that everyone else agrees. By the time that happens, the opportunity has already shifted. Consistent accumulation bypasses this trap entirely. It does not require confidence in timing, only confidence in direction. The difference matters more than most realize. Directional conviction allows action without stress, while timing obsession leads to hesitation and regret. Consider how many people enter markets only when excitement is high. They feel intelligent because the price is already moving, but that movement usually reflects crowded belief, not hidden value. When momentum slows, they panic because their decision was fueled by emotion rather than structure. In contrast, the individual who accumulates steadily does not experience this emotional whiplash. Each purchase is small enough to feel manageable, yet meaningful enough to build something real over time. Silver rewards this approach because its value is not dependent on daily enthusiasm. Industrial demand, monetary history, and physical scarcity operate on long timelines. By aligning with these forces instead of short-term sentiment, consistent buyers place themselves in harmony with reality rather than opinion. This alignment reduces stress and increases staying power, which is one of the most overlooked advantages in wealth building. There are people who started with almost nothing, setting aside a modest amount each month to acquire silver. No dramatic sacrifice, no lifestyle collapse, just quiet discipline. Years later, those small actions formed a foundation strong enough to support larger decisions. Some used their holdings as collateral. Some sold portions to fund businesses. Some simply slept better knowing their savings existed outside fragile systems. None of that required perfect timing. It required persistence. Trying to time markets creates the illusion of control, while often producing the opposite. The mind becomes reactive, scanning news, charts, and opinions constantly. This drains energy and clarity. Consistent accumulation frees mental space. Once a plan is set, the investor can focus on life, work, and growth, trusting that their strategy is operating in the background. This mental freedom is part of the return, even if it never shows on a balance sheet. Wealth that lasts is built in layers. Each layer strengthens the one beneath it. Small purchases accumulate into meaningful reserves. Meaningful reserves create confidence. Confidence leads to better choices. Better choices lead to opportunity. This chain does not require dramatic insight or superior intelligence. It requires restraint and repetition, two traits that most people undervalue because they do not feel exciting. Silver also teaches respect for scale. You do not need to start big. Starting consistently is more powerful than starting large. Many people delay action because they believe their contribution is too small to matter. Over time, this belief becomes an excuse that costs them years. The investor who begins early with modest amounts often surpasses the one who waits for a perfect moment with larger capital. Noise is the enemy of consistency. Social media, market commentary, and constant opinion create pressure to act impulsively. Consistent accumulation acts as a filter against this noise. It transforms investing from an emotional event into a routine behavior. Once it becomes routine, it becomes sustainable. Sustainability is what separates temporary gains from lasting wealth. Silver fits naturally into this philosophy because it does not demand constant attention. It sits quietly, storing value without requiring daily management. This allows the investor to build wealth without sacrificing life. Over time, that balance creates a sense of control that speculative strategies rarely provide. The quiet investor may never be the most visible, but visibility has never been a reliable indicator of success. Those who commit to consistent accumulation often discover something unexpected. As their holdings grow, their urgency fades. They stop chasing. They stop comparing. They become selective. That shift is not accidental. It is the natural result of building something steadily while others are reacting. In the end, the loudest strategies burn the fastest, while the quiet ones keep working long after attention has moved elsewhere. Silver protects life effort from inflation and financial chaos, and understanding this changes how a person views both money and time. Every hour worked, every sacrifice made, every delayed pleasure represents stored energy. Inflation quietly steals that energy year after year, not through dramatic collapse, but through gradual erosion. Prices rise, purchasing power shrinks, and people are left working harder just to stay in the same place. Silver stands in quiet opposition to that process by preserving value outside systems designed to dilute it. Most people feel inflation before they understand it. Groceries cost more, rent increases, savings seem to lose strength without explanation. The frustration builds because effort no longer feels proportional to reward. Silver offers psychological relief as much as financial protection. Holding something tangible that cannot be printed or digitally adjusted restores a sense of fairness. It reminds the holder that value can still be stored honestly, without permission from institutions or dependence on policy decisions. During periods of financial instability, confidence becomes more valuable than returns. Panic spreads faster than logic, and those without anchors are forced into reactive decisions. Silver acts as that anchor, not because it eliminates uncertainty, but because it reduces vulnerability. When a portion of wealth exists in physical form, the fear of total loss diminishes. This shift in emotional state allows clearer thinking when others are overwhelmed. There are countless examples of individuals who weathered economic storms not because they predicted them, but because they were prepared. Families who held silver during currency devaluations were able to exchange ounces for necessities when paper money failed. Small business owners used silver reserves to bridge gaps when credit froze. Retirees slept better, knowing part of their savings was not tied to volatile markets or political decisions. In each case, silver did not create wealth overnight, but it preserved dignity and choice. Inflation punishes passivity, and chaos punishes dependence. Silver reduces both risks by existing outside fragile systems. It does not rely on counterparty trust. It does not require electricity, passwords, or network access. Its value is recognized across cultures and eras, not because of branding or narrative, but because of utility and scarcity. This universality gives holders a form of confidence that is difficult to quantify, but easy to feel. When someone knows their life effort is protected, their behavior changes. They are less desperate, less reactive, less willing to compromise long-term goals for short-term relief. This stability affects career decisions, business negotiations, and personal boundaries. People anchored by real assets tend to move slower but stronger. They wait for better opportunities rather than rushing into risky ones driven by fear. Financial chaos often exposes the difference between numbers on a screen and assets in hand. During market disruptions, accounts can be frozen, withdrawals limited, and access restricted. Silver does not disappear in these moments. It remains exactly where it was placed. That physical presence carries emotional weight. It reminds the holder that not everything is abstract, that some value still exists beyond digital representations. Silver also anchors confidence by providing perspective. When markets swing wildly, those with tangible reserves are less likely to equate daily fluctuations with personal success or failure. Their sense of security is not tied entirely to charts. This detachment allows them to observe rather than react, to plan rather than panic. Over time, this calm becomes a competitive advantage. Protection does not mean isolation. Silver is not about withdrawing from the world, but about engaging with it from a position of strength. It allows participation without dependence, risk-taking without recklessness. Entrepreneurs who hold silver often take smarter risks because their downside is cushioned. They know a portion of their past effort is preserved, giving them room to experiment and grow. As financial systems grow more complex, individual control often diminishes. Rules change, access shifts, trust fluctuates. Silver simplifies this complexity by offering a direct relationship between effort and value. What was earned remains stored in a form that does not argue, negotiate, or erode silently. This simplicity is powerful in a world increasingly defined by uncertainty. Confidence rooted in silver is not arrogance, it is quiet assurance. It does not need validation from markets or opinions. It comes from knowing that regardless of noise, a portion of life effort remains intact. That knowledge steadies the mind and strengthens resolve, allowing individuals to move through uncertain environments with composure while others are searching for reassurance in systems that are themselves under strain. Stop chasing prices and start positioning for systemic change, because prices are only the surface of much deeper forces. Most people fixate on numbers moving up and down, believing that catching the perfect moment is what creates wealth. In reality, lasting advantage comes from understanding shifts in structure, not fluctuations in price. When systems change, value relocates, and those already positioned benefit without having to react. Chasing price is exhausting. It pulls attention into constant comparison, fear of missing out, and emotional decision-making. Each spike creates urgency. Each dip creates doubt. Over time, this cycle drains clarity and confidence. Positioning, on the other hand, is calm. It is based on understanding trends that unfold slowly. Monetary expansion, industrial demand growth, supply constraints, and declining trust in centralized systems. Silver sits directly at the intersection of these forces, making it a strategic position rather than a speculative bet. Systemic change rarely announces itself clearly. It builds quietly through policies, incentives, and unintended consequences. Currency debasement does not happen overnight. It happens through repeated decisions that slowly weaken purchasing power. Industrial dependence on silver grows incrementally as technology advances. Supply limitations tighten as mining becomes more complex and costly. By the time these forces are obvious, prices have already adjusted. Those who waited for confirmation are left reacting. Positioning early requires a different mindset. It means accepting that validation may not come immediately. It means being comfortable looking wrong for a period of time. This discomfort is what keeps most people out of transformational opportunities. They want proof before commitment, but proof usually arrives after the advantage is gone. Silver rewards those willing to commit based on logic rather than applause. History offers countless examples. Individuals who positioned themselves in hard assets before major monetary shifts were not celebrated at the time. They were often criticized for being pessimistic or outdated, yet when systems reset, their choices suddenly appeared obvious in hindsight. The advantage was never about prediction. It was about alignment with reality before consensus formed. Price-focused thinking also ignores scale. A small move in price can represent a massive transfer of value when held over time. Those already positioned to benefit from this transfer without needing to act. Those chasing price must make decisions under pressure, often at the worst moments. Positioning removes urgency. It allows patience to do the heavy lifting. Silver's role in systemic change is not theoretical. It is embedded in both monetary history and modern industry. It functions as money when trust erodes and as a critical input when technology expands. This dual nature gives it resilience across different economic environments. Positioning in silver is therefore not a single bet, but a hedge across multiple futures. Mindset shifts when focus moves from price to position. Instead of asking when to buy or sell, the question becomes how much exposure is appropriate. This reframing reduces stress and increases consistency. It encourages long-term thinking rather than short-term speculation. Over time, this approach builds confidence that is independent of daily market noise. Those who understand positioning also understand timing differently. They recognize that being early is often indistinguishable from being wrong until suddenly it isn't. This patience is not blind faith. It is informed conviction. It is the ability to hold through periods of boredom or doubt because the underlying thesis remains intact. Systemic change favors those who prepare, not those who chase. Silver holders who position rather than speculate are not trying to outsmart the market. They are simply refusing to be surprised by it. By the time prices reflect new realities, their role is not to react, but to decide how to use the advantage they have already built. The real shock is never the headline number, it is the life advantage gained by those who understood early and acted while others hesitated. Prices capture attention, but preparation determines outcomes. When a major move finally becomes visible to everyone, the opportunity has already shifted from accumulation to reaction. Those who position themselves beforehand are not scrambling to understand what happened. They are calmly deciding what to do next. Early understanding creates psychological distance from chaos. While others feel rushed, pressured, and emotionally charged, prepared individuals operate from a place of stability. This distance is not accidental. It is built through months and years of disciplined action taken without applause. Silver attracts this type of behavior because it does not reward impulsiveness. It rewards foresight and patience, qualities that translate directly into life advantage. Life advantage shows up first in decision-making. And when financial pressure is reduced, choices expand. People negotiate better, wait longer, and avoid compromises driven by fear. They are less likely to accept unfavorable terms or chase risky opportunities out of desperation. Silver does not make these decisions for them, but it creates the conditions where better decisions become possible. Many people underestimate how much stress influences their lives. Financial uncertainty leaks into relationships, health, and self-confidence. Those who built positions early often experience a subtle but powerful shift. They sleep better. They think more clearly. They are less reactive to noise. This internal stability compounds over time, producing external results that appear unrelated to investing but are deeply connected to it. There are individuals who accumulated silver when it was ignored, mocked, or dismissed as outdated. At the time, their choice seemed boring, but boring can be powerful when it aligns with reality. As financial pressures increased and systems showed strain, these individuals found themselves ahead, not because they predicted the future perfectly, but because they respected history and structure. Their early action created optionality later. Optionality is the true reward of early understanding. It is the ability to choose rather than be forced. Those with silver reserves can decide whether to hold, trade, invest, or simply wait. Those without reserves must often act under pressure, selling assets or taking on debt at unfavorable times. This difference shapes life trajectories in ways that compound far beyond finance. The shock others experience when prices move dramatically is often rooted in regret rather than surprise. They realize the information was available, the logic was clear, but action was delayed. Prepared individuals do not feel this shock. They feel confirmation. Their experience is not one of panic, but of validation. This emotional difference matters because it affects behavior at critical moments. Early actors also benefit from time arbitrage. They invested effort when it was cheap, when conviction was required, not capital alone. As awareness grows, entry becomes more expensive, both financially and psychologically. Latecomers must commit more resources under greater uncertainty. Early participants had the luxury of gradual accumulation and reflection. This advantage extends beyond money. The mindset required to act early often carries into other areas of life. People who position themselves ahead of trends tend to plan careers differently, build skills proactively, and avoid reactive lifestyles. They become comfortable moving against consensus when logic supports it. Silver becomes one expression of a broader philosophy centered on preparation and independence. When the broader public finally notices, narratives shift quickly. What was once dismissed becomes obvious in hindsight. Media attention intensifies. Opinions converge. At this stage, the prepared individual is no longer seeking entry, but considering allocation and purpose. Their focus moves from acquisition to stewardship. The real shock, then, is not the number on a chart. It is the widening gap between those who acted with foresight and those who waited for permission. That gap shows up in confidence, flexibility, and resilience. Silver did not create this difference on its own. It revealed it by rewarding patience and preparation in a world that often celebrates speed and reaction. Those who understood early are not defined by excitement or fear. They are defined by calm. They are not trying to impress or convince. They are quietly positioned, aware that the greatest advantages in life are built long before they become visible to the majority. If this message resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who's still distracted by headlines. Like this video if you believe preparation beats prediction. Subscribe if you're building long-term wealth, not chasing quick wins. And remember, true wealth isn't loud. It's patient, it's positioned, and it's built long before the world realizes what's coming.